Okay. Don't do anything illegal. Illegal acts are those which are prohibited by official rules or law. They are the product of rulers, legislative bodies, and judges. They're usually written down in law codes. In a well-ordered society, these are published and made known generally. In a cloudy and often crime-ridden society, one has to consult an attorney or be specially trained to know them all. Such a society will tell one that ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law. Okay, so there's an interesting point about that. The more unethical the society is, the more laws they will have. And the funny thing is that laws are not made usually for innocent or for good people with good intentions. Laws are made as a result of criminals and people with bad intentions. But the people who get hurt from these laws, in many cases, are the innocent and the people who actually abide by them. Do you guys get that? Cool. Any member of society, however, has a responsibility, whether young or old, for knowing what that society considered to be an illegal act. People can be asked. Libraries exist where they can be looked up. Okay? Simple. An illegal act is not disobedience to some casual order like go to bed. It is an action which, if done, can result in punishment by the court and state. Being pilloried. Ellen, do you have that there? Can't hear you?
Exposed to ridicule, public contempt, scorn, or abuse.
Okay, by the public.
Yes, exposed to ridicule, public contempt, scorn, or abuse.
Okay, so exposed to ridicule, public contempt, and
contempt or abuse.
Or abuse. Okay, did you get that word? So he's saying it is an action which, if done, can result in punishment by the courts and state. Being pilloried by state propaganda machine, fines, and even imprisonment. Okay, so we're just saying that these laws are done by the society, and if are broken, can definitely receive punishment. Make sense? Cool. When one does something illegal, small or large, one is laid open to an attack by the state. It does not matter whether one is caught or not. When one does an illegal act, one has weakened one's defenses. And, you know, if you try to use an illegal act as a way of getting out from a problem, you will pay the price. And maybe the nicest way to show it is with politicians. If a politician at an early age does an illegal act and somehow he gets away from it, he exposes himself later on when he wants to achieve something as a politician to be blackmailed or to be put into a corner where he will do things against what he believes and towards others. Okay, if you do something illegal, you are making yourself weak. And it doesn't matter what it is, any kind of illegal action that you do, you are opening the door for trouble in the future. Okay, so if you understand the concept of the way to happiness, so we have a guideline of how to live, and this guideline will make sure that we stay on the happy side of life, if we could say that. Okay, so you can say, we'll do this illegal act, no one will notice me, no one will know, you know, let me not pay tax now, let me I don't know, let this little fraud thing, or you know, I can steal here or there. You know, you will pay the price in a later stage. But even if not, like how he says, it weakens one's defenses. You know, a person who is clean cannot be faulted for things. Does it make sense? Almost any worthwhile thing one is trying to accomplish often can be done in perfectly legal ways. Okay? So again, you need to find the way that is the correct and the straight way. And I can tell you, for example, this is something that at our company, at my company, we are very, very strict on. Okay? We're very strict all the time to do the legal thing, sometimes at a great cost and painful financial or just pain in general. Because unfortunately, South Africa, like other countries, not all the legal things make sense or even are good for people. But these are the law of the land, and if you don't do it, you can pay a very heavy price afterwards. So in order for us all the time to know that there's nothing that can weaken us, we do everything on the legal side. I can give you, I'll give you, let me see where it goes. I'll give you more examples later. The illegal route is a dangerous and time-wasting shortcut. Imagine advantages in committing illegal acts usually turn out not to be worth it. Let me give you, for example, I have an acquaintance that he has a company, and he doesn't pay the tax that that he's supposed to pay. He takes shortcuts. But now he lives in a very high level of means, and you know, and his family are used to a lot of money. Now he wants to make insurance. God forbid something happens to him, that his family can keep on living at the level that they live. But he can't take a high insurance, because if that is found out by the taxman, he cannot explain how can he afford to pay such a high insurance. And every time that he wants to do something with a bank, or he wants to do something with another organization where how much money he has is relevant, he can't divulge how much money he has, because it doesn't fit with what he was claiming for the taxman. So yes, in one way he made much more money than paying tax, but on the other hand, his freedom is been circumcised. He has much less freedom to operate in and much less freedom to talk about, because he's committing these kind of things. Guys, do you get that point? The state and government tends to be a rather unthinking machine. It exists and works on laws and codes of laws. It is geared to strike down through its channels at illegality. As such, it can be implacable enemy, adamant on the subject of illegal acts. Let's look at implacable, please.
Okay. Implacable means implacable means not open to being quieted, soothed, or pleased. Remorseless, relentless.
Again?
It means not open to being quieted, soothed, or pleased. Also means remorseless or relentless.
Okay.
I'll type it as well.
Okay.
I think if you
okay,
know
relentless work. Relentless is fine. Okay. As such, it can be an implacable enemy, adamant on the subject of illegal acts. The rightness and wrongness of things do not count in the face of laws and codes of law. Only the laws count. Okay, makes sense? When you realize or discover that those about you are committing illegal acts, you should do what you can to discourage it. You yourself, not even a party to it, can yet suffer because of it. The firm's accountant falsified the books, In any resultant commotion, the firm could fail and you could lose your job. Such instances can grossly affect one's own survival. Okay, and that makes sense. I mean, you have companies that go, well, let's look at this country. I mean, we can go to that level. The country was robbed by a few people and we're all paying the price. Okay, does it make sense? There's some illegal acts done by the president, the past president, and people that he was associated with, and we are paying the price. The corruption of different different people in the different government organizations is costing us the country, and so on and on. I mean, this is quite obvious in South Africa. As a member of any group subject to laws, encourage the clear-cut publication of those laws so they can be known. Support any legal political effort to reduce, clarify, and codify the laws that apply to that group. Adhere to the principle that all men are equal under law, a principle which, in its own time and place, the tyrannical days of aristocracy, was one of the greatest social advantage in human history and should not be lost sight of. So I mean, what are we? We are 30 plus years after it was totally relevant to us in South Africa. I mean, not long ago, this idea that people are all equal under the South African law did not exist. Claudia can probably tell you very good stories on the subject, being a young lady and fighting for equality. Okay, in Russia today, for example, in Russia today, there's the laws are not for everyone the same. Okay, there, for example, people who want to practice their religion, if the religion in any way cuts through what the state thinks is not allowed, they can't practice their religion. And we can go countries after country, and you can find a situation by which these laws, this idea that everybody is equal under the law, does not work. Okay, so it says here, we should codify and make all laws easy and clarified to understood by the group, and that the group can apply. Does it make sense? See the children and people become informed of what is legal and what is illegal, and make it known, if by as little as a frown, that you do not approve of illegal acts. And here's the funny thing. So what it is, it's now 5 years. So 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I was living in Israel, and I had a company that we used to do decks. And I would go to clients, and they would say to me, yes, I want the job. I'll give them a quote. And then they'll tell me, yeah, but I don't want to pay VAT. Okay, I don't want to pay VAT. They want me to take cash and no invoice. So as I was already subscribing to this booklet, I obviously never agreed to that. And it was quite amazing how people would find excuses why it is okay not to follow the law of the land. And the thing is that the people get the leadership they deserve. The current Prime Minister of Israel is standing to trial. His trial started yesterday on 3 accounts. One is corruption. The other one is, I don't know how to translate it to English. It's just that he didn't do his job like he should. And I think there's another 2. If he would allow the police to investigate more, there's another 2 accounts that he probably could be accountable for. But in any case, when a society lives in corruption, you will get that kind of corruption. A society will get the leader that they deserve. And you know, the leadership that we get is the leadership that we deserve as a country. Maybe not each one on an individual level, but if our country as a whole is uneducated, if the masses and the majority of the people of South Africa is uneducated and it does not want to work and is not inclined to get educated, then that's the government that we deserve. Does it make sense, guys? And we just, and you probably can go country, and you see that's the government that you deserve. What the masses, I'm not talking about each one an individual, I'm talking to us as a group that's called South Africans, or as a group that's called Israelis. You know, and if we want to change it, then we are tied to each other as a group. We're all tied together, one with the other. So in other words, if we think that what's happening in other parts of South Africa doesn't affect us, or in even the other side of the world, but I won't go that far. Let's keep it close to home. If we think that doesn't affect us, it affects us. Anything that happens to any citizen in this country affects us. And we just get what we yield, what we put in there. If we would fight and do our utmost to change the education and get the people who are not educated more educated, then guess what? They would be able to make a more educated decision about who will manage them. But we don't do that, and unfortunately, I would love to say it's only the government is responsible for it, but it doesn't work like that. Why? Because if you take a country of ignorance, so you will get a government of ignorance. So how can you fault the government? If they don't know better, then how can you fault them? Does it make sense? And yeah, and me included, I can shout, yeah, what idiots, what stupidity. All true, all true. But how does it help me? And if we are not going to educate now the next generation, so when they become into politics, we'll have still a bunch of ignorant politicians who are running the country. And what we put there, that's what we'll have. Does it make sense? Those who commit them, even when they get away with them, are yet weakened before the might of the state. So here's another point. So I had in occasions when I used to do this kind of work in Israel, so they used to tell you, yes, but the gangster, you know, the gangster has all the nice cars and, you know, and he drives all these nice things. And, you know, so what they're trying to tell me that crime is worthwhile. Okay, does it make sense? And yeah, Ellen?
There's also a comment from Oksana saying that's why at Flash we have fourth goal.
Exactly. Yeah, we will do our part. Okay. So and you have especially 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, they see all these gangsters, they're driving the nice cars and etc. And you know, it looks like crime is worthwhile. And then but if you pull it further, so I would ask them, for example, so tell me, the gangster, does he have a high wall around his house? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And does he have maybe an electric fence on top of that wall? Yes, definitely he does. And does he have guards who guard his front gate? Yes, totally. So far, it sounds like every house in South Africa. But here it gets interesting. And he says, so when he goes on his errands, does he go by himself or he goes with others? Guys? A gangster, does he go by himself or he has a gang that goes with him?
With others.
A gang.
Yeah. Why does he take a gang with him? Why can't he go by himself?
Because he's afraid of getting murdered. That's why.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let me ask you this. So what does it help all the money in the world if he's afraid to get murdered? I mean, is it a nice feeling going through life being afraid all the time?
No.
So you see, the whole idea of money is to create for yourself freedom. But if you get money in a way that money frightens you, or the results of the money cause you to be afraid, you locked yourself in a prison by getting the money. And you don't need bars of the society to put you in prison. And a guy who's not afraid and sitting in prison is much better off than a guy who's not in prison and afraid all the time. Fear is not a great feeling, is it? That's emotional pain. It's just, instead of bodily pain, that's emotional pain. You're all the time in an emotional pain. Many times much worse than a bodily pain. Does it make sense? You get this point? Cool. So the way to happiness does not include the fear of being found out. Good? Right? And that's the thing. That's the thing, the fear of being found out. And there's much, much more to this little statement, the fear of being found out, than meets the eye. And we will take it up in another, when we finish the way to happiness, we'll address it. And that's quite, that will be quite a revelation. Okay? Let's take on the next one, which is very relevant to today. Here we go. Yeah, you guys see it, fine.
And so the king ordered his men into battle, and even though he was no longer acting in the best interests, they followed obediently. But what if they didn't? What if they just refused? What if selfish leaders got no support? What if people had the courage to stand up when something wasn't right? What if the government didn't just serve a lucky few? What if it was designed and run for all the people, no matter what race, color, or creed? What if we didn't put up with anything less? What if?
Support a government designed and run for all the people. Unscrupulous and evil men and groups can usurp the power of government and use it to their own ends. Can we look unscrupulous?
Ruthless.
Again?
Ruthless.
Ruthless. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. And usurp. Take a position of a power importance illegally or by force. Okay. So it's like ruthless and evil men and groups can take the position of power by force of government and use it to their own ends. You get it? Okay. Government organized and conducted solely for self-interested individuals and group gives the society a short lifespan. This imperils the survival of everyone in the land. It even imperils those who attempt it. History is full of such governmental deaths. So we had apartheid, which was, what was it? It's about, when South Africa was given its freedom from UK, what year was it?
It says South Africa was granted independence on May 31 in 1961.
Yeah,
In
that makes
1910, the British solidified power and created the Union of South Africa.
So
From
1961 you have.
1961.
Yeah, that's roughly what I assumed. Okay, 1961, that's 33 years of apartheid. Okay, that was a government organized and conducted solely for self-interested individual and groups, right? And it did not last. And really, I mean, probably the major player that we managed to transform from what you have there.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we have 3 dates now. 3 dates. But the point is very simple, that this group was running the country and the government for themselves. And they were, well, all of us were lucky that the person who did the transformation was Madiba. Otherwise, I mean, how did he manage to go beyond all the evil that was here and see the good in mankind and put everybody together in one boat? It's not understood to me. I personally do not understand how he managed to go beyond that. But for me personally, he's probably the greatest leader that the last a few hundreds of years we experienced. And that his ability to forgive for everything. And that falls under true greatness. And he's really one of the few that could fall under what true greatness is. And true greatness, I will give it to you in 2 words, is to love despite everything that's done to you. Okay? And I will bring that reference to one of our webinars, and we can look exactly what Ellered says about true greatness. But Madiba definitely has shown true greatness, and luckily enough, he was really great because we're still here. We're just still here, unfortunately. Okay, so and you can go through history. I mean, Zuma was running the country for ANC, and not even for the entire ANC, for a fraction of the ANC. Okay, and you can see that we since Mandela we didn't have actually someone who's running the country as a country and not seeing the country in pieces. Unfortunately, the next one who comes will really help. Hopefully, he will arrive soon. Do you get that point? Okay.
Or maybe she.
Sorry.
Maybe
I have no problem with it. As long as there's no Zuma in the name, I have no problem with it. Opposition to such governments usually just bring on more violence. Okay? Does it make sense? But one can raise his voice in caution when such abuse are abroad. And one need not actively support such a government. Doing nothing illegal, it is yet possible by simply withdrawing one's cooperation to bring about an eventual reform. Even as this is being written, there are several governments in the world that are failing only because the people express their silent disagreement by simply not cooperating. These governments are at risk. Any untimely wind of mischance could blow them over. Can we look up mischance? Sorry, it's mischance. Sorry, I misread it. Let me read it again. These governments are at risk. Any untimely wind of mischance could blow them over. Okay, you get this point. Now, here's the point. I'm personally very much in disagreement with what this government is doing. That doesn't mean, although many times I want to break the law, and that's an emotional response to stupidity, I don't do it because I know that's not the right thing to do. So, for example, this issue with the mosques, okay? There's a lot of medical information that each one of you can look at, which you would see that the masks are actually unhealthy for one to wear. Okay, and I mean, you don't have to be a genius. Yes, Laurent. You have to unmute.
I was definitely trying to agree with that. So I've read quite a few references in that one.
No, I didn't get that. Sorry, you say?
Saying I've read a few references with that, so I wanted to agree on that with the mask.
Excellent, excellent. I think we could all agree. I mean, I don't think that anyone disagrees that we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon oxide. Okay, does everybody agree with that? Yeah. Okay, carbon oxide, is that dangerous or not dangerous for people when if to breathe it in? Is this something that we can breathe in, or we're not supposed to breathe it in? Where's our chemists? Okay, so we're not supposed to breathe it in, right? So imagine that you breathing out into the mask, and now there's no fresh air coming back into your body, but carbon oxide. Okay, what it does, it makes your blood, what do you call it? Not alkali, it makes it, yeah, the word escapes me. Thanks.
Acidic.
Yeah, acidic, thank you, that's the word. Okay, it makes your blood acidic and it's unhealthy. And if you do it, if you do it for a long time, you can get sick from it. Okay, definitely you don't want to do that. You know, every morning between 6 and 9 people are exercising, and Jessica and I are driving to work, and we look at this and we go crazy that they have their masks on. They're exercising with their mask on, and when I see someone who's not, I say, yay, hallelujah, thank God. Someone actually is thinking. I hope he's thinking, maybe he's just uncomfortable. I don't know. But I mean, there's no medical reason to wear the mask. It's not only that. The World Health Organization states, and you can go into the website. I showed it. Yes, Laurent.
Apparently, actually, this from one French doctor. Mask protects from bacteria, but virus it's much smaller. He claims about 1,000 smaller in size, so which the mask do not even protect it from that. I don't know if there is anybody who can actually have more data on that.
Yeah, so that's true. That's correct, and there's more to it that the World Health Organization in their website regarding masks, and just type in Google WHO, which is the World Health Organization, and masks. Okay, if you type in these 2 words, you will come to their page that talks about masks, and they give you a whole list of things how you're supposed to wear masks. And if anyone does that, then he must be the most pedantic, unbelievable, self-controlled human being ever. And I feel sorry for him because it's crazy. But beyond that, they say that healthy people should not wear masks. Okay, it's stated, it's actually written blue and white. It's not black and white. It's blue and white, and it's stated healthy people should not wear masks. Okay, and there's a lot of things about the mask. So, you know, when I go shopping, that I put on the mask. You know, and if I in an environment of someone who gets very upset if people are not wearing masks, or a little bit upset, then I wear a mask. Okay, I'm not doing it. I'm definitely not doing to upset people, and I'm not doing this to cause anyone more fear than what they have. The idea is not to create more fear; it's to create more stability. And but it's unhealthy for us to wear masks. And wherever I don't have to obey that rule, I won't obey that rule. Okay, does it make sense? Okay, so and so on, and whenever I mean, in this form, I do not support the government. This government is for the sake of government. They are not representing any fraction of people in the society except themselves. There's not one fraction in society that benefits from their rules, including the elderly and the weak, because their system does not help the elderly and the weak if the elderly and the weak are going to get sick. And this lockdown does not stop people from getting the virus. It does not, because we all go to the shops, you know. Anyhow, it's ridiculous. If they want to protect the elderly, first of all, they should, instead of spending billions on stupid medicines, they should just get a lot of vitamin C, a lot of vitamin D, a lot of vitamin A, and some zinc, and give it to the people who need it, and let them boost their immune system on a regular basis. And then there is an old medicine that is proven every day that passes. There's another doctor saying this works 100% because he's tested it. And the medicine is also, this medicine is also a proven medicine. It doesn't have to go through any trials because this medicine, I think, was launched into planet Earth in 1910. So it's over 100 years that this medicine exists. And it costs about 10 US cents per pill. And usually with 2-3 pills, you actually make someone healthy. So I don't know on what data they're using, but they're not using the data that's helping any of us. And when I say any of us, I don't mean the people that are sitting around here and having a conversation. I'm talking about the people of South Africa as a whole. So I definitely don't support this government. And I think that South Africa did support the government for the first 3 weeks, and in kind of, let's entertain them, you know, let's humor them, you know, kind of thing. But since then, most South Africans are disabused by the government conduct, and no one is really sure what the government is trying to achieve, because what they said they wanted to achieve when they started it was to buy time. They bought the time, they have the beds, they have the machinery, they have everything they say, and still they're very slow at stopping the situation. Does it make sense? So there's some other hidden agenda here, and it could be as stupid as, I climbed up the tree and I don't know how to get off. It could be that stupid, you know. It could be that Ol Ramaphosa said, "Look, we were overcautious. We were overcautious. It looks like from now what's happening in the world that this epidemic is not such an epidemic. Now let's get back all of us to work, drop all the nonsense, get close together." Because by the way, for immunity, social distances is the wrong thing. If we want immunity, we should actually be close to each other. Okay, and we should get on with a lot of business and let the government do one thing: find solution how to make more people work. Because the way you get out of a bad economy is you create work. You create tons of work. Does it make sense? Anyhow, we'll continue. On the other hand, where government is obviously working hard for all its people rather than for some special interest group or insane dictator, one should support it to the limit. So here's the funny thing, that from my observation, and I'm not sure that I've seen everything is to be seen, but the government of China is the government that is working for the highest percent of people. The majority of the Chinese are getting well returned for their government's efforts, okay? They're getting, the majority of Chinese, if you take Chinese through China, if you take China through the last 30 years, and you check the unemployment last 30 years, do you check their level of education, if you check their health situation and what's the name, and you look over the 30 years, and it's been, and I'm pretty certain it's a ongoing growth in all spheres. And yes, China is a dictatorship, okay? But I don't see it being a bad one. You know, the best form of government is a benign king. Do you guys understand benign? In other words, a good king, a king that works for the people. Okay? So China, although the system is authoric, okay? Although Chinese government is authoritarian, in other words, it's run by no opposition, and there's one man in charge, and there's one party, and there's no opposition to it. They are working constantly for the people and the country of China. Okay? Does it make sense? And it could be they're not the best, but the Chinese people in the majority, and I've been China many, many times in many different, and I speak about politics there often, and they support the government. And you can see why China can put up in a week a hospital, why China can close an area and no one disobeys. It's not because anyone is going and shooting in the street. No one is shooting in the street in China. It's just because they support the government. Does it make sense? Okay. Good. Continue. There is a subject called government. In schools, they mostly teach civics, which is merely how the current organization is put together. The real subject, government, goes under various headings: political economy, political philosophy, political power, etc. The whole subject of government and how to govern can be quite precise, almost a technical science. If one is interested in having a better government, one then does not cause trouble. One should suggest it be taught at earlier ages in schools. One can also read up on it. It is not a very difficult subject if you look up the big words. It is, after all, the people and their own opinion leaders who sweat the fight and bleed for their country. A government cannot bleed. It cannot even smile. It is just an idea men have. It is the individual person who is alive, you. Okay, so government is made from people. And it really depends the people in the government. Are they even understanding that their job is to... Hello?
Hi, sorry, Yaron, are you?
Are you doing well? I'm gonna mute you now, okay, Max? Okay.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. So you have you have people. The government is just made from people, okay? And the understanding of the people of what an organization and what the government is, it's how they operate. But more important, do they understand then that to govern is to serve? Okay, you see, there's a misconception here by people who are in power. They believe that as a result they're in power, they should be served by others, which the only reason they are in power, in a matter of fact, is to serve others. So to govern is actually to serve. Okay, and when they don't understand that, when this is not understood, then we have problems in society. And I think this is partly not understood currently by our local government and across the world, actually. I mean, it's quite amazing how so many governments have stripped its citizens from their rights just because of fear. And they have attempted solutions that never were done on planet Earth. And a high influential person in Sweden was asked, when Sweden did not go into a shutdown, he was asked, aren't you worried that you are doing this experiment and that you will pay the price for experimenting with people's life? And he turned around and said, never in the history of planet Earth, the healthy will quarantine. The ones who are doing the experiments are you, not us. Do you get that point? And we are the guinea pigs of the biggest experiment ever on planet Earth.
What are you doing? Hi, Ellen. Yeah. Daddy.
So this is my governor and my boss.
Mom? Can you hear us?
Okay, now can I get back to speak to the people?
I don't want mommy.
So go to mommy, run to mommy.
I don't want mommy here.
She's calling you. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so this ends the following. The way to happiness is hard to travel when shadowed with the oppression of tyranny. A benign government designed and run for all the people has been known to smooth the way. When such occurs, it deserves support. Okay? Guys, you get that? So, anyone wants to say anything regarding this? No one wants to say anything on the subject? Yes, Lorraine.
You mentioned earlier that the Chinese, they let the government not really controlling them, but to lead them.
Just put it on the chat. Okay?
All right. Okay.
Okay. Guys, who else wants to say? I mean, this is quite a subject, and it's very, very relevant for today. Okay? How do we not break the law, but still not support a government that is not doing anything to improve our lot in life? How do we do that?
Yaron,
Yeah?
you have mentioned once in a seminar at the org.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure if it is that relevant to this particular topic, but we were discussing about taxes, and you said that you don't run from taxes. What you do is you increase your production. You increase your work, you increase your income or wages or whatever you want to call it, or profits or your net. And this is how you were able to battle with that. Because I think it goes and aligns with probably with seasons of life. You know, you have rain, you have sun, and sometimes you have a lot of rain. And if you are a fisherman and you have a farmer, they have different perspectives to having a lot of sun and having a lot of rain, but they don't play with that. They just prepare and do the best they can to overcome that, but they don't wish to change the season, because you're fooling yourself if you do that. So I think it's going to what you said to us at that time, and it applies to now. You just increase your production and increase the work that you are putting out.
Yeah, that is always, you flourish and prosper. That's correct. You always do that. That is the answer. That's the ultimate answer for everything. But here we have a situation where we have a government, and at least in my opinion, I will speak for myself. Yes, Ellen. Sorry. Yes.
Someone is trying to get in.
Nasik, but I'm trying to get him in. Something's wrong with his system. It's not what I'm doing. It's something that his system doesn't allow him to come in. I don't know what's happening there. Okay.
Okay, no.
So we have a government that, for everything that I'm observing and whatever I'm privy to read, they have much more. So in other words, whatever information I can get, they can probably have the ability to get much more information than me. Okay, does it make sense? And from the information that I'm getting, I do not see them doing anything that's good for anyone, including themselves. You remember the previous one about the, you know what? I'll tell you. I'm doing. I have a new thing. I'm not going to watch any more movies. I'm going to watch documentaries. Okay. why I say if I'm going to sit in front of a screen, I might as well study something. So currently, I'm doing the history of Rome. Okay, Rome, the empire, and there was an emperor called Commodus, and he's very interesting because he's done so many things wrong so far. He's violating everything you probably can violate as someone who's going to be in power or in power. And he has let go of his power and got one of his friends to run the empire for him. Now, this friend idea was like this: let me make the people of Rome starve. Now, I don't know if you know, but Rome at the year, about the year 200, was about over 1 million people living in the city of Rome. Okay, that is a ridiculous amount of people for those days. Okay, that is a lot of people for the ability, for infrastructures, and for everything of those days in. So this guy, what he did, the grain was coming from Egypt. Okay, Egypt was producing a lot of grain. The grain would come from Egypt, and instead of giving it to the people of Rome and distribute it like it always was, he would take it and store it away. His idea was, I will store it, and later on when they're starving, I will give them the grain and they will love me for that. Okay? That's kind of insane. Okay? For his own glorify, people will die. The point that he didn't know, he wasn't very educated on the subject, but when there's no food, people's immune system also goes down, right? And as a result of immune system going down, and they're not having the most modern technology that we have today to service 1 million people, they had a plague. And the plague was killing a lot of people. So the people were very unhappy. And before he could fix anything, he was found out, and the people he actually took him to pieces. Because they were a mob. The Romans were just a mob. They loved violence. Okay, so why I'm saying this, that here you have a man in power with a hidden agenda to make a situation bad in order for afterwards to get acclaimed of helping people. Okay? It sounds quite insane, but history is full of these examples. And I don't know what the South African government is doing today. I really don't know what's the agenda behind. But you can see that it's definitely not designed to help people. And for that reason, what I'm trying to get to, Giovanni, is yes, by all means, we have to flourish and prosper. But that's not the point regarding the government, because here we're talking, are we supporting a government or we're not supporting a government? And I personally do not want to support this government. So first of all, I'm wherever I can, I am forwarding the DA's Facebook what do you call it, communications and everything. I'm all the time forwarding that. Why? Because the DA is the only ones who actually are speaking loud out against the government. I don't think they're doing enough, but they are doing more than others, or they're doing more than anyone else. Okay, so for example, that's one thing that we can do very easily without breaking the law. Yes, Ellen?
There was a comment from Laurent earlier.
Yes.
He said, when you serve people, they let you lead them.
True. Yeah. If you really serve the people, they allow you to lead them. Correct. And if you noticed, at the beginning, we allowed Ramaphosa, and we went with Ramaphosa for the first 3 weeks. right? I mean, no one here for the first 3 weeks, anyone here was in a huge disagreement, or even though you thought it's wrong, you said, okay, I will roll with it. Yes, Ellen, you were a huge disagreement. Okay, so you were right. Okay, so even if we disagreed with it, we were more okay. But since then, bad decision after bad decision after bad decision has brought us to see that there's no real think of the people of South Africa, the entire people of South Africa. And not only that there's evidence outside the country, there's a lot of groups inside the country that have given evidence to show that this is taking us into worse situation than what we are in. Does it make sense? Okay. Anyone else wants to comment, guys? Feel free. I don't charge you money for that. Okay. So if there's no more comments, then that's fine. Then we can end off today and we will do again on Wednesday. Okay? Cool. Thank you all for joining.
I have a
Yes,
question.
yes. Sorry, yes. What's up?
What's our next webinar?
I will tell you now. Oh, so we're gonna deal with our environment. Yeah, we're gonna handle our environment. Okay?
Cool.
Very cool. Okay, excellent, guys. You have an awesome week. A lot of production. Okay.